So we're continuing the Elbaf flashback in this chapter, more so Loki and Harold stuff, because God Valley is completely over. It fully ended in the previous chapter. Rox is dead, which means we're going into post-Rox One Piece at this point. We're focusing more on other hype characters and hype moments, which is like Shanks. Shanks does something pretty interesting in this chapter. So, well, let's just get into it. Harold had a mission from the world government. He's now defeating pirates for them. He became known as a monster among the mists. Harold became a god's blade for the world government. So this is expected of Harold because, you know, he sucks. I say that half jokingly. I don't really like Harold, but I don't hate him. I understand why he does what he does. He is a very conflicted and flawed character, as we've talked about before. He's ultimately trying to do the right thing for the entire race of giants and just Elbaf as a whole. They apparently have a very tarnished history within the world. He's trying to rectify that. And when he found out about Rox's death in the previous chapter, it really flipped a switch in him because he was very remorseful over it, because he knew that he should have helped Rox. But at the same time, he didn't want to, because if he did help Rox, that would have further set him back in trying to integrate with the world government. So he decided to just double down and become more of a dog of the world government, and straight up came to Marineford and then broke his ancient giant horns off as a gesture of, I guess, loyalty, showing that, hey, I'm sorry for what the giants have done. I can't completely rewrite history, but I can make it better from this point on. And to prove that to you, I'm going to remove the horns that essentially represent that tarnished past. And I guess from what we're finding out here, they were like, okay, Harold, cool, but now you're gonna have to be more of a dog for us. Go out and defeat some pirates for us, and also become a god's blade. So God's Blade is pretty interesting. That is not the same as a Holy Knight. We saw a couple chapters ago during the beginning of the hunting game that Gunko herself was a God Blade, I guess before she became a Holy Knight. Because going more into these spoilers, we see that the world government seal / tattoo has 3 ranks. The lowest rank is the God's Blade, like Gunko. We didn't know that before, and that clears some things up. So I guess once you get into the highest echelon of like the world government forces, it's like God Blade, then you can become a Holy Knight, and then I guess you become a Gorsei. That's it. I mean, you can't go any higher than that because then you're just Emu, and obviously only Emu is Emu. So Harold is right underneath a Holy Knight at this point, and them saying about the tattoo / world government seal, does that mean that he gets tattooed? Maybe. I guess we'll go over that more in the full summary tomorrow if we get it. Also, subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to be covering that. I always cover these spoilers, guys. I've been doing it for almost 7 years now. We're almost at 300K. Let's try to get there before the end of the year. We got another month and a quarter left, and let's try to get 3,000 likes on this video. Just hit that like button on your phone. It's really easy. It'll help the video. It'll help me. Thanks, guys. And I guess this also goes back to what we saw currently in Elbaf when Shamrock and Gunko showed up to where Loki was, and they were like, hey, why don't you become a Holy Knight? Well, it's because, hey, your freaking dad was almost a Holy Knight, so you can become one. But let's put a pin in the tattoos, because we're going to come back to that. But first, let's talk about our favorite Japanese snack subscription box, and that's Tokyo Treat, because this month's box is Snack in Wonderland. And this box is packed with merry treats and seasonal surprises, because Japan doesn't mess around with Christmas. First, I tried these Silent Night salted butter truffles. It's like these rich ganache balls paired with a salty, crunchy butter biscuit center. Oh my god. Then I tried these Falala French salad potato chips. These are so good. They have like this tangy vinegar punch to them. Can't stop eating them. Then I tried this Merry Melon bread. It's super fluffy and has like creamy melon filling inside. It is delectable. Then I tried the double berry Kit Kats. Oh my god, guys. I don't even really care for raspberries and strawberries, but whatever they did, they knocked it out of the park, because these are truly incredible. This is like a real Christmas treat. And speaking of that, guys, if you're looking to get a holiday gift for you or your loved ones, look no further than a Tokyo Treat box. They make incredible gifts. And you can get yours by checking the link in the description, and you can get $5 off your first box by using code Zhoniin. Thanks, guys. 15 years ago, Shanks is the one who freed Fisher Tiger. He met Harold later on, and Shanks was covering / patching his left eye. Shanks was trying to gather information on Mary Joie / the world government. Whoa, what a reveal there. It's actually a pretty cool reveal. So Fisher Tiger was like Jinbei's captain. essentially, back when the Sun Pirates were a thing. He was like the big dog amongst the fishmen, or at least fishmen pirates. And at some point when he was on the sea, he got captured by the world government and he was imprisoned in Mary Joie and became a slave. And we know through that backstory that at some point after that, he broke out of there, then came back, climbed up the Red Line, and then released a whole bunch of slaves, which is how Boa Hancock got released and, you know, eventually became what she became. And we always wondered, like, how did he break out of there in the first place? And it's because Shanks broke him out of there. And I guess it just further shows us that Shanks isn't a rat. And Shanks coming to Mary Joie in the first place, this could be what Shamrock was referring to. When he was talking to Loki about Shanks, he was like, that pirate is my estranged younger twin brother. He returned to the Holy Land once, but he seems to prefer the filth of the lower world. So he says once, I guess this was the only time that he was there. And this also goes back into what Shanks was saying in the flashback earlier. When he was talking to Scopper about Harold, he was like, yeah, I met him at Mary Joie, we got along all right. And also, as we're going to talk about, he came there for a specific reason, getting information or whatever. But also, it makes me wonder if it's even possible that Shanks himself is a god blade. And I say that because we saw at the beginning of this flashback, when Shanks was in that hot spring or whatever with Rayleigh, on his left arm, he had like the world government tattoo. And it's similar to the sigil that we saw with the Holy Knights. But the sigil that the Holy Knights have like horns on top of the cross or whatever. So that makes me go back to what we're finding out here with the world government seal tattoo has 3 ranks. Lowest rank is Godblade, like Gunko. Maybe just the circled cross is the lowest level, and then once you get horns on that, that's the Holy Knight level, and then the highest level is the Gorosei, which is whatever they have. Because also Summers and the other Holy Knights we saw have like that Abyss tattoo or whatever on their elbow, and it doesn't seem like Shanks has that, so I don't think he has those powers. But also Shanks covering his left eye with an eye patch here. That's because at some point within the last 15 years, at this current point in time in the flashback, Blackbeard went after him and slashed him up with implied to be his Vega claws. And we talked about this many times. I don't want to repeat myself too much, even though I already do. I mean, I cover this friggin' chapters 3 times in a week, guys, so forgive me. But in the previous chapter, we saw that it was Garling who killed Rox. You know, as Rox was laying there post-taking Roger and Garpstrong his attacks. Now, does that mean that Blackbeard knows that it was Garling that killed Rox? I mean, how could he know that? How could anyone know that, to be honest? So I don't know, but maybe he just intrinsically hates Shanks just because of that weird supernatural connection, possibly. Because at some point before this, which seems like it was relatively recently, if Shanks still has the eye patch on, Blackbeard went after him and scratched him up. And as for him trying to gather information on Mary Joie / the world government, I don't know what that means. Maybe it has something to do with the One Piece, I guess, because he is actively trying to go after that. And this could also lead to how he winds up getting the Nika fruit. Because we know that he intercepts Who's Who's ship at some point and then gets the fruit. And then, of course, Luffy winds up eating it somewhat accidentally, but this is probably what's leading to that. Ida gets poisoned from someone in Estrid's hometown. So Ida is Hyruden's mother, who was like Harold's first love. I guess only love. Harold didn't really love Estrid, I guess. I mean, he cared for her, but it was like an arranged marriage. And Estrid comes from like a real posh type of place. They're kind of like the celestial dragons of the giants, I guess, because Estrid was essentially just a celestial dragon without directly being one. Loki takes a revenge on that village and announces that Ida is my only mother. All right, Loki. Loki's gonna have to pick up the slack for Rox now that Rox is gone. He's the only Rox-like character in this arc right now, so we're all gonna have to get behind Loki, and it's going to be pretty easy because he's awesome. But as we know, Ida is obviously not like Loki's biological mother. Estrid is. But Estrid, like we said, sucked. She was a freaking celestial dragon, basically. And when Loki was born and she saw his eyes, his crazy unexplained eyes, which is probably has something to do with some kind of recessive genetic supernatural ability or whatever, she like threw Loki off the tree, tried to kill him, and then Loki, you know, crawled back up or whatever. But Estrid always rejected Loki. So it's understandable that Loki finally has come around and be like, yeah, Ida is my mother. Despite not biologically being it, you could still have a mother that is not blood related to you. You know, if somebody raises you or has that strong bond, you know, they're still your mother or your parent or whatever kind of familiar relation you want to have with them. It doesn't say that Ida dies here, so I guess she doesn't, unless we'll find out in the full summary. But Ida is like a good person. I mean, she single-handedly changed Harold into the person that he is now. Despite it being flawed, at least he's on a better path robot than he originally was, and she's a very loving mother to at least Hyrule and even Loki. But I love that Loki did this. I love that Loki just does stuff like this in general. Can't wait to see what happens with him. I mean, yeah, he's going to get Dami reversed at the end of the arc, because that's just what's going to happen to all the cool characters for the rest of this series, unfortunately, but you know, it is what it is. Let me know what you thought about this chapter in the comments, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.